Magandang araw po sa inyo lahat. Ako po si Christian Esguera and welcome po sa ating episode ngayong araw dito po sa ating Facts First podcast. So this is a recorded episode dahil kailangan po magtugma yung schedule po namin ng ating pong special guest for today. Dahil ang pag-uusapan po natin ay yung ikawalong anibersaryo ng ating pagkapanalo, legal na pagkapanalo laban sa China dito po sa issue ng West Philippine Sea. Yung issue po ng tinatawag na maritime entitlements. Kasi kung naalala niyo po, noong 2013, dumulog po tayo doon sa Permanent Court of Arbitration sa The Hague, kung saan nagsampa po tayo ng arbitration case laban sa China. At tayo panalo po natin yon noong 2016, July 12, 2016. Unfortunately, after natin makuha yung panalo na yon, alam naman natin kung anong ginawa ng nakaraang administrasyon dito sa landmark victory ng Pilipinas. So, pag-uusapan po natin ngayong araw na ito, ano ba yung nag-gain natin bilang isang bansa sa iba't ibang aspects nitong ating vital or crucial victory over China 8 years after. So the person I decided to invite for our special episode ngayong araw, siya po yung basically naglatag. Madalas po ang description sa kanya, the silent worker, the unsung hero, dito po sa landmark legal victory by the Philippines over China. And I agree. Siya po yung naglatag ng tinatawag na legal principles, legal philosophy. Siya po yung naglatag ng basehan nung ating paghabla sa China. Noong mga panahon na parang marami sa ating mga eksperto, sa ating mga tao sa gobyerno, hindi pa naiisip yon o merong agam-agam, teka, dapat ba nating ihabla yung China? So napaka-importante po ng role niya dito po sa paglalatag ng basehan. At eventually, naipanalo po ito ng ating bansa. So, ang tinutukoy ko po, siya po yung isa po sa mga eksperto natin pagdating po sa issue ng South China Sea. Kasalukuyan po siyang ambassador ng Pilipinas dito po sa Turkey. So, I'd like to welcome again to our podcast si Ambassador Henry Bensurto. Magandang gabi po dyan sa Ankara and thank you for joining us again dito po sa Facts First, sir.
Christian, good afternoon sa inyo. No? Actually, it's morning here now.
Morning na ba?
We're 5 hours behind.
Behind. Sorry, akala ko gabi dyan. Okay,
That's okay,
morning.
Christian. But thank you very much. It's great to see you and be back to your very factual platform. Thank you.
Na. Ako na nagbida sa inyo. Alam ko awkward yan, no? Ako na nagbida sa inyo. Hindi niyo naman pag-uusapan yan.
Thank you.
Anyway, let's talk about this, no? Okay. Doon sa mga maganda kasi taon-taon or lagi dapat pinapaalala to sa mga Pilipino. And aside from that, yung audience natin, yung international community at saka in China. Let's talk about how vital our victory was in 2016 over China dito po sa Permanent Court of Arbitration.
Thank you, Christian, dyan sa tanong mo. Una, I just want to preface na tama yung sinabi mo, every year dapat huwag nating kalimutan kasi napaka-importante nito. At taon-taon dapat palaganapin natin ang pagkakaalam natin tungkol dito sa arbitration. Sa mga bata, sa mga susunod na henerasyon, importante yan. Mapunta ako dun sa tanong mo, bakit napaka-importante? Nako, sobra po. Para maintindihan natin yung importansya ng arbitration, isipin natin panandalian, wala yung arbitration. So, tanggalin natin yung arbitration. Ano yung sitwasyon sa South China Sea? Pag tinanggal mo yung arbitration, ang sitwasyon sa South China Sea, kung meron tayong exclusive economic zone, under UNCLOS, and we are entitled to that. Pag mineasure mo yung ating exclusive economic zone, ang measurement yan, more or less, this is just an approximation based on satellite data and extrapolation of data, it will amount to something like 550,000 square kilometers. Ulitin ko, 550,000 square kilometers. Yan lang yung exclusive economic zone, no? And then sa baba niyan, yung continental shelf, another 550,000 square kilometers. So more or less, mga 1.1 million square kilometers. Yan yung exclusive economic zone natin. Pero dahil sa expansionist policy o yung tinatawag nating 9-dash line ng China, number one, kung i-imaginein mo, gumuhit yon, nag-overlap siya ng malalim sa ating exclusive economic zone. Pero hindi lang yung 9-dash line, kundi pati na rin yung may mga features sa gitna natin, doon sa gitna ng South China Sea, ang tawag dito yung Spratlys Group of Islands, and base doon sa isla na nagpo-project siya ng maritime entitlement, without clarification, ang pagkakaintindi ng China at ng marami, I guess, capable ng 200 yung mga features doon. Pag sinabi kong features, sorry, I'm using some terms. Yes. Kung sabihin ninyo yung mga coral reefs, sand cays, sand shoals. Just to give you a brief description lang, yung Spratlys group of areas, marami diyang sand cays, sand shoals, coral reefs, at ang numero niyan, they number anywhere sa 294 hanggang 294. So yung counting method, depende kung sino yung nagbibilang. Minsan kasi ang basehan nila individual, minsan kina-cluster nila. Kaya yun yung difference lang. But this is just to give you an idea. Pag pinagkumpul-kumpul mo lahat ng land features na yan, ang kanyang area will only amount to something like 5,000 square kilometers. Yan yun. Pero dahil iwalay, and then dahil sabi nila, isla daw yun, nagpo-project ng 200. Pag nag-project siya ng 200, mag-o-overlap din yun doon sa sinabi kong i-easy natin na 550. Okay, suma total, pag pinagsama mo yung China's 9-dash line, tapos yung China's claim over the Spratlys projecting 200, suma total, eto. Bago magka-arbitration, 540,000 square kilometers out of 550,000 square kilometers of our exclusive economic zone ay tinatawag nilang disputed. Ibig sabihin,
inaangkin nila in short.
Ng China, kanila daw yon. Ang implication nun, doon sa 540,000 out of 550,000, bago makapangisda ang ating mangingisda, magpaalam muna. Bago natin i-drill at kumuha ng langis at natural gas sa reed bank, magpaalam muna. Kailangan nating magpaalam dahil hindi daw atin yon. Yun daw ay sa bansang China nga. So, ang pwede lang tayong mangisda ay yung 10,000. 10,000 out of 550,000. Yan ang sitwasyon bago magka-arbitration. Ngayon, sinasabi natin hindi totoo yun. Sinasabi ng China, yan kanila yan. So, parang nagbabanggaan lang tayo, sino ang tama? Diba? Sa sitwasyon na sino ang tama, yung malakas na may kapangyarihan, merong puwersa, merong barko, siya ang i-enforce niya lang yon. Tayo naman, dahil may ganyan, hindi naman, dahil walang klarado, although sa atin, klaro, pero hindi naman klarado sa buong mundo, ang hirap nating ipaglaban. Kasi hindi malinaw kung what is ours and what is not ours. And what is disputed. What is not disputed and what is disputed. Sa mga ibang bansa rin, ang hirap ding magbigay ng opinion kasi hindi nila alam kung sino yung tama. Di ba? Kung ikaw, halimbawa, third party, you cannot. Ngayon, dumating yung arbitration. Ang ginawa ng arbitration, kinlarify niya una yung 9-dash line. Wala daw yon. Okay, nalibre na malaking bahagi natin, pero hindi pa. Tapos, kailangan din nating ipruweba na walang 200 yung mga features na yan. Ang sinabi ng tribunal, shortcut ko na lang, wala silang projection ng 200. Suma total, ang resulta, at ito ang importansya ng arbitration. Dahil sa arbitration, na-clarify ng arbitration na hindi totoo na disputed yung EEC natin to the extent of 540. Sa makatuwid, na-gain back natin yung 540. So nabalik yun, hindi disputed, exclusively part of ours. Tapos, ang disputed area na lang, yung doon sa mga features, plus yung doon sa mga features na tinatawag na bato or rock, 12 nautical miles. Suma total, ang natitirang disputed area na lang is only 13,000 square kilometers.
Okay.
13,000 out of 540. Mas importante yan, ito yung specifics, yung reed bank sa atin, exclusively. Yung Ayungin Shoal, continental shelf din natin, exclusively. Yung Mischief Reef, exclusive continental shelf din natin. So, yan ang importansya niya ngayon. At malinaw. At ito ang batayan pag sinasabi natin, what is ours?
Nako, napakalinaw ng paliwanag niyo, no? For purposes of discussions and reporting din. Kasi hanggang ngayon, madalas kong makita sa mga balita, sinasabi nila, the disputed West Philippine Sea. Mali yun, ibig sabihin. Or
Dapat
merong, may kernel of truth ba yan?
No, ang truth na lang niya, kakaunti lang yan, sinabi ko nga, ang the only disputed area in the South China Sea, and for the most part in the West Philippines, for the least part lang, kasi may kaunti lang yun kasi pag imagine mo yung ating EEZ, nasa loob ng EEZ natin yung mga features na yan. So yung natitirang disputed na lang, yung mga features na yon. Ang numero niya 13,000 pero hindi 540,000. So malinaw.
Sorry sir. Doon sa natitirang 13,000 square kilometers na disputed sa buong South China Sea, ilan po rin yung pasok pa sa ating exclusive economic zone? Kung meron pa.
I don't have the numbers right now. I have not, kasi before we made computation, medyo lumipat na ako. Pero we can make that computation. But maybe if you look at the map, kasi a large portion naman talaga ng mga features na yan nasa atin. Pero a large portion of the KAG is also low tide elevation. So, ibig sabihin, part na ng continental shelf natin yan. So, later on, if you wish, I can show them up para magkaroon ng idea. We can also show that. Pero siguro, if ever, mga out of 13,000 siguro, ito ano lang subject to validation. Siguro about 8,000 square kilometers out of 13,000. Even 9,000 square kilometers may be inside. That's possible. But 7,000 to 8,000 square kilometers out of 550, if you can imagine that, it's very tiny. Yeah, and Ayungin Shoal, there should be no discussion anymore in that. Ako rin, ang suggestion ko, huwag na natin pag-usapan yung 9-dash line tsaka 10-dash line. Huwag na rin natin bagitin yun kasi 6 feet under the ground na yun. Let's not make a zombie out of a dead thing. So every time we mention 9-dash line, we are actually giving breath to a dead thing and making a zombie out of that. It's 6 feet under the ground already. Patay na yun, wala nang saysay yun. Actually. Hindi ko rin pala, nakalimutan ko rin banggitin isang importansya. Dahil ngayon malinaw, so malinaw kung ano yung disputed, malinaw kung ano yung atin. Hindi lang sa atin, kundi pati sa bansang China, malinaw na rin yun. Hindi lang sa China at sa atin, malinaw na rin sa mga buong mundo. And this is the reason why yung G7, why other countries are able to speak. Now, if you remember, bago nagkaroon ng arbitration, walang makapagsalita kasi hindi malinaw. Ngayon na malinaw, klaro lahat ng statement ng G7, ng Japan, ng Australia, ng Estados Unidos, lahat sila klarado. So, I think that's another importance.
Okay. Isa ko rin tanong, sir, kasi hindi lang naman China at yung Pilipinas yung nagle-lay claim dito sa parts ng South China Sea. Although ang pinaka-suga pa rito, of course, is China. So, na-clarify na yung maritime entitlements ng China, ng Pilipinas, in particular, dito sa arbitral victory natin. How about the other claimants dito sa bahagi ng west ng South China Sea? Are they also respecting the findings kahit hindi sila party doon sa arbitration?
Oh, yes. Well, two things. Number one, definitely beneficial yung ruling ng tribunal doon sa mga other claimant countries, including Vietnam, including Malaysia, including Brunei, including Indonesia. And that's why if you notice, Indonesia talagang nagpursigido siya ngayon doon sa pagpapatrol ng Natuna Islands and din yung kanilang waters doon. No? So there is no doubt na yung ruling ng tribunal benefited them, even if kung hindi sila party doon. And that's the reason why also many of them, because of the implications nung tribunal, Actually, marami sa kanila naging observer sa tribunal during the hearing. And there are some pictures pa nga, we made the ASEAN lock. No? So it's definitely beneficial to them. It's also beneficial to other user states na dumadaan sa South China Sea. Kasi ngayon, talagang may freedom of navigation and there is nothing that should impede their passage in the high seas doon sa Donut Hole and sa South China Sea. So it is definitely beneficial not only to the Philippines, not only to the other claimant countries, but to the entire world or globe, no? Both in terms of regional and global peace. This is also good for China, if China will also think about it, because it also clarifies what is theirs and what is not theirs. And therefore, their policy should already move forward along that line. It's also good for maintaining peace in terms of rule of law.
Okay. Tsaka napansin ko rin, Ambassador, no? Alam naman natin na may mga kumakampi sa China, pero yung maski yung pinakakakampi ng China, never nagsalita. Correct me if I'm wrong. None of them has ever come out in support of China over this at sinasabing mali yung ruling. Tama ba?
I have not encountered anything na ganyang brutally straightforward na mali yung tribunal. I don't think there was anything that was said along those lines.
Yes. Karaniwan di ko mabibig, no? Tahimik lang sila.
Yeah, it's more of political perhaps yung mag-negotiation ka, parang gano, this is how their allies are able to express their support. Of course, we understand and we are aware that there's an effort from our northern neighbor to have these conferences of legal experts, kuno, to try to undermine the ruling. No? So I think we can sense that. But it's not a problem. We have always been open and transparent, and we have always been open to engage, and where we stand on truth and solid legal ground. And our legal ground, our legal position has been affirmed in a very decisive, resounding way by the International Tribunal on this.
Okay. Binanggit niyo, sir, na dun sa arbitral victory natin, sa arbitral award, napakalinaw na sa atin ng Reed Bank, Ayungin Shoal, tsaka Mischief. Mischief, matagal lang inangkin ng China yan. They occupied it, no? 1995, mid-1990s. So, malinaw sa atin yung legal. Tayo, yung sa atin yan. Pero, in reality, Reed Bank, hindi natin ma-explore, hindi natin ma-exploit. Ayungin, meron tayong military outpost sa pamamagitan ng BRP Sierra Madre. Every time that we're doing resupply and rotation missions, hinaharas tayo. Mischief Reef, hindi natin mahawakan, no? Dahil ginawang base, military installation ng China. So, marami rin nagtatanong, what's the use of that legal victory if, for all intents and purposes, China is largely controlling these features?
Thank you for that question. And it's very understandable yung ganyang attitude or perspective ng iba, no? And we respect that, but at the same time, we should not lose heart. Actually, we should look at the positive thing. Kasi ang ibig sabihin nun, malinaw na when you make decisions and when you do actions, you first think whether you're on the right or you're on the wrong. Having made that decision, you also know na yung paglakad minsan, you will have to exert effort. Hindi naman ako makakapunta ng Cubao pag hindi ako naglakad, pumunta sa isang bus stop at sumakay ng bus, dumaan sa mahabang traffic na naiinis ka, but eventually you reach Cubao. You have to go through those difficulties. This is true even in our ordinary lives. In the case of the South China Sea, nothing is so different. In the same manner, we make our decision to move in a certain direction with a certain objective, and that objective is right. Yung objective na yon, atin to, dapat makinabang tayo para sa henerasyon nito at sa darating na henerasyon at kailangan magkaroon ng kapayapaan. Kaya natin gagawin ito. Ngayon, hindi naman yan ilalagay sa table mo na, okay, jackpot. No. Everything in life, we have to work for. there will have to be an effort. And what makes that victory sweeter at the end of the day is the difficulty that you go through. A character of a person is built on the basis of adversity. Through those adversity, slowly a shape is chip. You chip, and that's painful. But after all those chipping, from a sculpture's perspective, you create an image, and the outcome is what you wanted. It's the same thing. We know our objective in the South China Sea. We already did the first step. Having done the first step, we move to the second step. Nakuha na natin, malinaw na kung ano yung atin. Dapat ngayon, pag-isipan na natin, paano natin i-implement to. Kasi merong ganitong bansa na ayaw tumanggap niyan. Pero, hindi ibig sabihin, dahil ayaw niyang tanggapin, tatanggapin ko na ayaw niyang tanggapin at sasama ako sa kanya. No, that's not the right attitude. What we have to do now is sit down, and think of a creative way, realistic, what is viable and what is not viable, and be consistent. So, ibig sabihin nito, kailangan natin ng right character, perseverance, patience. Why patience and perseverance? Because we know hindi ito mangyayari ng overnight. And so what that means therefore is, kung may ginawa tayo, tapos hindi kagad tinanggap, we should not immediately surrender. Rather, we have to be patient. This will take time. In the same manner that China, if you look at China, i-compare ko lang yung kanilang patience, for example, kahit wala sila sa tama, ginawa nito. So over a period of time, tingnan mo, from the 70s, Paracels Island. Kahit na may opposition, may mga ganyan, and then later on, Fiery Cross Reef, and then in the 80s, and then in the 90s, Mischief Reef, and then in the 2000, Reed Bank. So you can see the consistency. Why can't we do the same thing when we are in the right? The more that we should be sticking to what is right and be consistent, constant. So we have to be patient. But at the same time, you have to be smart. You have to be smart in the sense of how are we going to implement this now? I think it is a wrong simplification or oversimplification to make a correlation between domestic setting in terms of application of law and enforcement of law versus international. Madali po sa domestic. Kasi sa domestic may korte ka, pag nakuha mo na yung decision, may police ka. That's easy. That's within domestic sovereignty. But international relations is quite different. It is legally binding, and that's most important. The enforcement, however, will be different, but it doesn't mean it's not enforceable. That's why for those people who says, this is an old thinking in the past, and you have to understand this in the context of the old appreciation of international, when they say not enforceable. When they were saying that in the past, ang ibig lang sabihin nun, hindi automatic, but it doesn't mean it cannot be enforced. The current thinking internationalist, it is enforceable, but the enforcement will have to be different in the context of differently from the way domestic. So ibig sabihin, you have to look at your toolbox and look what is the available tools to make sure that this is enforced over a period of time perhaps, but this is where character comes in.
Okay, pag-usapan natin actual enforcement kasi baka inisip ng iba, hindi naman na-enforce ng Pilipinas yan tsaka ng international community. Let's talk about the specifics. For instance, the fact that we're filing diplomatic protests over and over again, is that an indication that we are actually enforcing it? Number 2, yung freedom of navigation. The fact na kahit nangaharas yung China dyan, may presence sila dyan sa vital waterway, dumadaan pa rin yung ibang mga bansa. Lumilipad pa rin, for instance. Are these indications that we're actually enforcing this kahit hindi pa natin na-achieve yung pinaka-objective?
Okay. Christian, sagutin ko lang yan in this way kasi number 1, I don't want to presume myself as being part of the team working on this issue.
Yes, sir.
I am not part of that. And out of respect, I do not wish to preempt that group out of courtesy and respect also. I will answer that question in the context of how we look at it at the time, because anyway, you can do correlation. Makikita mo yung similarity. So at the time, yung enforcement, for example, number 1, yung unang tanong mo, yung protest. Yeah, it's very important to make a protest. It has both legal consequence and also political security consequence. On the legal perspective, ganito yan. And you can see, first one has to understand ano ba yung ginagawa ng China. So i-occupy niya, and then pag na-occupy niya na, he stays. So hindi legal yung kanyang pamamaraan. And then later on, pag nakuha niya na yun, possession, he will try to legalize it slowly. And create a habit. Let me correlate it para mas maintindihan natin sa domestic setting. Di ba pag pumunta ka sa probinsya, marami pang mga lupa, walang titulo, pero ikaw nagbibigay ng kadastral, alam mo na iyo yun, etc. Pero pwedeng puntahan ng ibang tao yun. At minsan, ang land grabber, mayaman, may mga goons, occupy nila yun. No? Pag inoccupy nila yun at tumahimik ka lang over a period of time, and for lawyers, we know this already in civil law, yung prescription. If you are in good faith possession, that land will become yours in a matter of 10 years. And if you are in bad faith, 30 years, it becomes yours. And yung prescription na yan is a modality of acquiring ownership over that piece of property. Hindi siya eksakto sa international relations or international, but there is a similarity. The historical aspect of acquiring. So, siya, inoccupy niya, and then i-build up niya ngayon, i-consolidate niya yung kanyang pag-aari kuno doon. And then, over a period of time, yung tinatawag na acquiescence. So, a legal term doon, acquiescence, yung parang,
pagpayag.
Hindi mo naman connection eh. So, adverse claim yung ginawa ko and nag-acquire ka. So, after many years, and that's why sabi ko, we have to be patient. Hindi masusolve ng isang administration to, but every administration must realize this. No? And so that acquiescence can mature, the same way sa prescription, into a legal title. And that is, and then this is also consistent with another modality, a very most recent one that was generated by the case sa Palmas Island, yung tinatawag na effective jurisdiction. Na kahit na, briefly lang doon sa Palmas Island, meron tayong isla down south, nasa Treaty of Paris, yung isla na yun, ang tawag doon Palmas Island. Sa atin yun, legally, historic title plus cession title. Pero because in the Netherlands, the Dutch established a foothold there over a period of time, flying the Dutch flag, Dutch school, etc. for the Indonesians. Eventually, we lost it. And we have to avoid that. This is exactly what China is trying to do dito sa South China Sea. And so we have to be alert. And so we need to show to the world and to China we're not acquiescing. And to do that we are not acquiescing, we protest. Every single activity is important. Politically, what does it send? It sends a political message to China that we know what you are doing. Alam namin kung anong ginagawa mo. Hindi kami nag-a-agree dyan. And for every opportunity within peaceful means, we will protest. And so what has it to do with the mindset? Ang sabi ko from the very beginning, Christian, the aggression is a mindset. It's not just about having armalites, having ships. It's actually a mindset. Even if you have a weapon, kung wala ka namang mindset na gamiting pampatay ng tao yan, there's no aggression there. It only becomes consequential when that mindset dictates the use of that armalite to shoot people. In the same way, ganito rin yan. So, when you put in at nag-telegraph ka ng message na we don't agree with you, you are convincing them, ito yung mind game, number one, don't ever think we're giving up on this. And it's very important in terms of their conviction and commitment. So you want to telegraph that. Ikaw rin, tinitelegraph mo rin sa sarili, you're not giving up. Because the moment you accept that as a fact and that wala ka nang magagawa, that will eventually mature into a situation where you will lose your property. Mabalik ako dun sa lupa mo sa Mindanao. Pag hindi mo na dinalaw, dahil sabi mo, total, wala naman akong produkto dyan. Total, may mga tao na naman dyan. Ayoko na ng gulo. Then so be it. It was your decision. Therefore, you lose what you inherited from your parents. And that's what's going to happen. And that's why it's very important. Now, yung pangalawa, and it's related to the first, you don't want to generate a habit on your part na, oy, yung sinasabi ko, wala na, hindi ko napupuntahan yan. Sila naman, ma-generate yung habit na sila talaga doon. So, related yan, ano yung ginagawa nila? When they ask you to ask their permission to come, it's an exercise of ownership. On the surface, akala mo parang walang kwenta, maliit na bagay lang yan, para wala nang gulo. O sige, pupunta kami dyan, pwede ba kami on this date, on that date, can you allow us? Parang maliit na bagay, para wala nang gulo. But actually, when you look at the historical action of China over a period of time, and they will do this from one administration, kasi 6 years lang na after the administration, babalik sila katulad ng ginawa nila sa Ayungin Shoal, for example. And then the Mischief Reef. If you go back to that history, makikita mo kung ano yung ginawa and how it has implications in the future. It's like this. Sa Mischief Reef, sabi nila gagawa lang sila ng Nipa Hat. 1990s. Okay, para yan sa mga Pilipino at saka mga incheck. Tapos pangalawa, pag-usapan na lang natin yan, i-shelve natin yung dispute, and then we concentrate on economics. Decades after, where are we on Mischief Reef? Di ba nakalimutan natin? Hindi na tayo nagsasalita dyan. Di ba? So for many years, hindi tayo nagsalita kasi natatakot tayo to escalate kuno. Right? And that's how it was. We saw that during that period when we decided to stand. We saw the pattern. We saw that pattern. And therefore, we decided we need to stand up. Hindi na pwede yun. Kasi if we keep on moving on the same momentum, on the same inertia previous to when we made the stand, ang conclusion nun at the end of the day is that China will be able to occupy many by force, because this is their strategy. Their strategy is to come in, occupy, and then tension goes up. As tension goes up, they apply diplomacy to de-escalate kuno, and that you will see, it's the same articulation.
Pattern.
Escalate, pag-usapan na lang natin yan, and then, okay, tension goes down, and then at the end of the day, they are there. They are there. All right, and then it does not stop. It does not stop. And then after more or less a decade after, they will do the same. So, same. So, to illustrate that in very clear way, Paracels Island, 70s, Fiery Cross Reef, 80s, Mischief Reef, 90s, in the early 2000s, Reed Bank, and then second part of that, Scarborough Shoal, and now we're in Ayungin. You see the pattern? And then at every time the tension goes pag-usapan. And that's why we have to be very clear about this.
Okay. So, ibig sabihin, importante rin pala, no? Given that context, maganda nilatag nyo. Importante rin talaga na hindi pumayag yung ating gobyerno na miski between us, China and the Philippines, magpaalam sa resupply missions para wala ng gulo. Hindi natin pwedeng gawin yan. Because that could lead to this, what you call yung effective jurisdiction as the big perspective.
Thank you, Christian. I will let the appropriate spokesperson of the government to answer that question. But as a matter of perspective, based on that historical setting when we were, that is our understanding, and that's our approach. Because one, you don't want to create a habit na sa kanila yon, hindi sa atin yon. We don't want to create the habit among our fishermen na hindi sila pwedeng pumunta doon. We don't want to create habit on the part of China na isipin nila na kanila yan. You know what? And on this last aspect, I wish to elaborate lang. You know, this idea of kanila yan, hindi naman yan shared by many people. At the time, we did research, for example, on this. It is something that originated from the top, right? And it's not shared. Pero over a period of time, if the top will force its people to, false, di ba si Goebbels, if you don't correct a false and you propagate that false, eventually that false will have the semblance of truth.
Nagiging totoo. Okay.
And that's exactly what we don't want to happen. We don't want our people to develop the habit and the thinking and that it is not ours. Because
Mm.
by not exercising what is not ours, can you imagine in 15 years, yung ating apprehension, nung una ayaw natin pumunta dyan, baka anuhin tayo ng China. 15 or 20 years from now, hindi na ganun ang thinking, hindi atin yan. Ganun na yun.
Yeah.
Sa kabilang bansa naman, ang thinking nila, hindi amin to, pero kukunin namin to, okay? And then palalaganapin ko yung thinking na atin to. So, yung mga innocent future generations na citizen na yun, dahil yun ang kinagisnan nila, yun na rin ang pag-iisip nila. And so you cannot fault that future generation because this is how they were brought up. And this is how that habit forming was put into them. And that's why it is our responsibility to be upfront, straightforward. And that's how we thought about it before. And to make sure that we reach our objective, we have to show that character of consistency, constancy, commitment, conviction, and the ability to walk the talk, always within the parameter of peaceful means. Actually, may gusto rin akong sabihin dyan sa peaceful means because the other side of this, ito yung nakita nating malaking kaaway natin dito sa issue na to. Meron tayong dalawang kaaway dito, actually, ignorance and fear. Ignorance because of the lack of understanding. Actually, when you ask, baka mag-survey ka kung alam ng mga tao kung ano yung ruling, I doubt it. Siguro in a very general way, nanalo tayo, so ano yung napanalunan natin?
Yeah.
I don't think many understand that. And that's why there has to be an effort to educate people, not only, maybe most important, ourselves, and then the world. Because the world will only follow us if they see that we have conviction. We can never have conviction on something that we do not know. And so the first step in forming that conviction and that commitment to say that you are on the truth is your ability to know and to be informed. That's the first step. And this is how we are going to fight ignorance. Second point is the fear. Marami nagpapalabas dyan na pag nagsalita ka tungkol sa karapatan mo, doon ka na pabor sa gera. I think that is wrong. It is not right. I don't think it is the intention of the Philippines. We're peace-loving at every administration. And that is our dream. That is our desire. And that's how we wish to live. And so, but it is also our wish to live with dignity. Living with dignity, actually, is to exercise our right. We only wish to enjoy what is ours, what is rightfully ours. We do not wish, ayaw natin kunin yung hindi atin. Bakit naman natin kukunin? Kaya nga tayo pumunta sa arbitration, ang purpose natin sa arbitration, para malaman natin, meron ba kaming karapatan din dyan o wala. Kasi pag sinabi naman ng korte na wala tayong karapatan, bakit natin ipagpipilitan? Actually, yan yung isang punto na dapat maintindihan ng tao. Pero nag-decide yung tribunal na tama tayo, and therefore, part of our dignity is to stand up for it. Standing up for it, which is an abstract idea, operationalized in terms of us talking, in terms of us negotiating, in terms of telling the world what is ours, in terms of engaging China, in terms of having the ability to deliver food to our own people in Ayungin. That is the expression of our dignity. And that is very important. And for us to be able to operationalize that within that context, we have to know why we are doing this. Bakit ba natin ginagawa yan? Then, when we are properly informed, when we are properly educated, then we will have the ability to love it. And out of that love, the ability to do what is right. Always within the context of peaceful parameters. Because let me make this clear. I don't think it is in our interest and it is our objective to make enemies of anyone. That's the truth. The people of China, we have no quarrel with the people of China. These are human beings, pretty much like Filipinos. And we would like to have a handshake with China. We want to have an authentic friendship. But it's very hard na magkaroon kayo ng handshake kung yung paa niya nakatapak naman sa paa mo, no? Ang hirap kayang ngumiti, ang sakit-sakit kaya, ang bigat-bigat niya nakatapak sa paa mo. So yung nakukuha ng camera lang, yung mukha mo, naka-handshake kayo. Pero yung hindi nakukuha ng camera, yung paa nakatapak sa, ang hirap nun. Hindi authentic yun. And ano yung paano nakatapak sa atin? Itong expansionist policy na to. Itong pangbabraso sa atin. Itong pagwawalang bahala nila sa rule of law. Yan ang isang malaking sampal sa atin. Yan ang nakatapak sa paa natin. And for us to have that authentic handshake sa bansang China, if you tell us that you are our brother, why don't you take your foot out of my foot? That's what we're trying to do.
Okay. Well said. Well, maraming salamat po, Ambassador Henry Bensurto. Always a pleasure talking with you. Sa viewers natin, kung napapansin nyo, pag-uusap natin si Ambassador Henry, maganda yung pagkakalatag lagi, no? Marami tayong natututunan. Maraming salamat, sir, and thank you very much for joining us today dito po sa Facts First.
Salamat, Christian. Thank you.
Okay. Maraming salamat po. Yan po si Ambassador Henry Bensurto. Nakasama po natin. Okay? Kumusta? Ano bang tingin nyo? Well, siguro isang takeaway na gusto kong iwan din sa inyo. Yung sinabi ni Ambassador na let's do our part in terms of better understanding what this arbitration victory was all about. Kasi mahirap din yung kumukuda tayo na hindi natin naunawaan. So let's start there. Intindihin natin mabuti. Ano ba yung napanalunan natin? At gaano ka-importante yung panalo na yon. Huwag tayong basta-basta maniniwala doon sa mga propaganda ng kung sino-sino mga nagpapanggap na mga analysts, mga so-called columnists, yung mga so-called think tanks, no? Kapag in-analyze naman po yung mga sinasabi, basically para mga ibon, in particular parrots. Pinaparot yung propaganda coming from China. At kasama po dyan, ilang mga politiko natin dito sa Pilipinas na pinaparot yung propaganda galing sa China. Napaka-importante ng victory na ito, and I hope hindi lang po natin siya pinag-uusapan tuwing anniversary ng ating arbitral victory tuwing July 12. Okay? Dapat mas paitingin po natin yung discussion regarding this dahil yung banta coming from China is very, very real. It's not far. It's very close to us. In fact, some of our politicians are serving China's interest. So again, maraming salamat po for joining us today dito po sa ating special Facts First podcast episode. Ako po si Christian Esguera. Kita-kita po tayo sa susunod na episode ng ating podcast. Magandang araw po.